Welcome back. In this video, we'll be walking through how to create your code for your McQueen soccer car. So we've already created the remote control code, which is fairly simple. It's basically sending via the radio frequency that you choose, left, right, or forward as strings to your second device. So let's code the car itself. In a new make code window, you're going to want to create a new project called car. In this, you are going to want to first of all set the radio group for for the car itself, or the second microbit, to the same as your remote control. The next thing we're going to explore is the use of functions. So a function will allow us um, to add blocks of code to basically a mini function, or sorry, a mini program that we can then refer back to again and again and again. So if I created this function, for example, that would show an icon, but the function was called left, I can then call that in my program and it will run this mini program over here. So in theory, I could duplicate that and show the icon multiple times. So that's what a function is. Let's see what we're going to do with this function. So if the robot needs to turn left, we're going to need to use the McQueen extension. So you can search for that in the extensions tab and activate it, which will give us access to the movement blocks for the car. So once we've got that, we're going to insert a couple of blocks, and it's going to move the motor at a particular speed. I'm going to go max speed because I want mine to be nippy. So my left turn is going to require the right motor to move forward whilst the left motor moves backwards. That will give me a left turn. So if I left that as it is, it would go forever. So I'm going to create a pause. So it's going to go for 100 and maybe 200 milliseconds. That's fine. And then it's going to stop. Okay. So both motors, you can switch that to all, are going to stop. So it's going to move only to a certain extent. Now you can change this value and it will move either more or less, and you can tweak that yourself. But that's essentially it. We're going to do a left function, a right function, and a forward function to line up with these strings that can be received. So I will quickly create a right function, and I will also create a left function. Oh, sorry, a forward function. Okay, so what happens if I would like to do a right turn? So the motor is going to move, the left is going to move forward, and let's duplicate that, and the right will move backwards. I'll use the same pause, and I will use this brick as well. So that's my left sorted, my right sorted, and all I'm going to do for forward is very simply move both motors forward at 255. Okay, now these functions will not actually run until we call them. When do we want to call them? Well, we want to call them when we've received a particular string from this radio group. So which strings do we care about? So we need to use an if statement. So an if-else statement is the one you want to choose. And we're also going to need a logic block, which is a comparison. And it's this one here with these apostrophes, which means we're going to compare strings. So we're going to go if something equals something, and that something is going to be if received string is equal to left, then we're going to do something. I'll click this plus button. I'm going to copy this whole block, and then I'm going to put this one in here, and I'm going to say, well, if it's right, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to do it one more time. If it's forward, something else will happen. Well, this is where we will refer back to our functions, and we will call the left function, which will call this code here. We will call the right function, which we'll call this function here. And we will call forward, which we'll call this function here. And that wraps things up nicely. So at this stage, I would recommend you test the robot alongside your remote control and see if the movement needs tweaking. Of course, there's other things that you can do, such as a goal celebration, or you could use maybe one of the other input blocks. Perhaps if you've got access to the logo press, you could use that to also on your remote control to send a message, so the robot can perform a different movement. Maybe that could be stop. But I'll leave that down to you. So there's some code. So combined with your remote control, you should be good to go with some basic movement. Good luck, and I'll see you in another video.